Hello everyone and welcome to All Things Watched. In this video we are going to talk about the brand new movie The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Now this is the fifth film of the franchise, and this one is actually technically a prequel to the original trilogy, or well, four movies really, but the third film was actually broken up into two movies. But now the earlier franchise really starred Jennifer Lawrence and her portrayal as Katniss, where this movie, The Ballad of Song and Dance, mainly starred Rachel Zegler and Tom Blythe, who portrays an earlier interpretation or an earlier iteration of Cornelius Snow. And of course, Rachel Zegler's character, she portrays a character known as Lucy Gray, and she is sort of like, I guess she would be sort of taking the place of Katniss from the original trilogy, or the original four movies, in the sense of she's the main person that you're following for this new set of Hunger Games, even though technically this is a prequel. Now, I feel like this movie was actually two different movies put into one. You had the Hunger Games part, which took place for probably the first half of the movie, maybe even the first, I don't know, maybe hour and a half, or maybe not even that much, but at least the first hour and 15 minutes. And then for the final hour and a half, or hour and 15 minutes, or even hour and 20 minutes, I feel like it was a completely different story altogether. You had, Rachel Zegler's character Lucy and Cornelius going on basically sort of like this, like it goes from being this action thriller sort of, prequel, seeing the setup of the Capitol, seeing how the Hunger Games come into play, to then all of a sudden becoming just a straight up love story and almost a musical, where I feel like Rachel Zegler sang way too many songs. Now Viola Davis is in this movie along with Peter Dinklage, and they are definitely the highlights of the film. I would say Viola Davis and Peter Dinklage gave the best performances, and honestly Viola Davis was a very intimidating character and certainly a force to be reckoned with. Now Tom Blythe and his portrayal as Cornelius Snow, I thought it was as good as as good as he could have possibly done it. I don't think that the character was interesting all that much really, but I do think that it wasn't because of the lack of performance. I think it was the writing. For me at least, I feel like it was the writing, and and I feel like this movie really was missing that character, like what Jennifer Lawrence portrayed. And also I don't feel like any of these performances were as compelling or interesting as or even as good for that matter, or even talented as what Jennifer Lawrence was. And Jennifer Lawrence had a really good way of bringing the heart. She really made you connect with her character. She really made you care for her character, where I feel like in this movie you don't really care for anybody. Rachel Zegler, I think, was actually the weakest point of this movie, which is too bad because she has a beautiful voice. Whenever she was singing, she was doing a phenomenal job. She can really carry a song and carry a note. She can really carry a tune, and she does a great job at singing in this movie. I just felt like the singing was just way too much. She sang literally probably like a full set. I'm not even exaggerating. She probably sang like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 songs, and that was just way too much. And also how they ended her story, I just thought it really, when we should have had a few more answers, I feel like they just ended in a way that led to more questions, and I felt that there was a lot of inconsistency. Now, in terms of the Hunger Game itself, I actually really liked the games. Like I said, so for the first, hour, even hour and 20 minutes of the movie, I actually had quite a bit of fun. It wasn't really all that silly. There wasn't much singing or any, foolishness like that. I mean, there was one scene where Lucy Gray, when you're first introduced to her, when she's picked to go into this Hunger Games, or to go into this games, she comes from District, I think they said it was District 12, but I could be wrong. But when she gets picked to go to the games, she has one really big music, one really big song there, I guess you could say, one big sing-along there, just as she gets picked. But then they sort of go away from that, which I really appreciated. So I did enjoy the games when it actually came. And even watching the Hunger Games, I thought some of the filming was done very well. At least for I feel like the first half of the movie was directed and written well, the writing was never really good at all, but I feel like the direction was good in the first half of the movie. But then once the Hunger Games were over, then I felt like the movie started to drag on, and it just became very uninteresting because the characters were just not interesting themselves. And the only reason why I really enjoyed the first half of the movie was because of the Hunger Games itself. Now, you do get a lot of very different angles and very different. It was a very different style of filming compared to a lot of the other Hunger Games. I really liked how in this one you really felt like you were actually in the arena with some of the characters. So I did really enjoy a lot of the, a lot of the filming aspects, the camera angles, and that sort of thing. And I really liked the Hunger Games itself when they're actually in the games. But afterwards, I just felt like it got way too long and boring and just dragged on and on and on. For me, I feel that you could have shaved at least 40 minutes off this movie, but they didn't. They really let you see the full 2.5 hours, and if you feel every bit of it. There was literally moments in this movie when I was actually checking the scores of some football games that were on. So that will give you an idea of how I thought. So overall, I was not really a big fan of the Hunger Games. I was not really a big fan of the Hunger Games to begin with. Really, my only exposure to the Hunger Games was from the movies. I've never ever read any of the books or the novels or anything like that. But it's just Jennifer Lawrence did such a great job in the original movies that I just, I was able to watch them all and enjoy them for the most part. But for here, with this new one, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, there was just really nothing here for me to cling to. And then also, it was like an hour too long. So if I had to put a number on this one, I probably would not put any number on it. I would just say that it was a fail. But all these things are subjective. Just because I didn't like it, don't mean you won't like it. Maybe you'll watch this and absolutely love it. But for me, I was not a fan of The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And if they do a sequel to this one, I will not be watching it because I lost all my interest just from this one. But like I said, Viola Davis and Peter Dinklage did a great job with what they were given. But as for the rest of the characters, I really just didn't care. And I do think that Rachel Zegler was the weakest part of this movie, which is not good because she was essentially one of the main characters. I thought she had a great voice. She's really a good singer. She can really carry a tone. She sounds great. But she was just, for me, her portrayal of this character was not done well. But anyways, folks, that's my review of The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Let me know in the comment section below if you've seen it, and if you'd like to tell me why or why not. If you like this video, click that subscribe button, and until the next one,